I've come to a decision, one that weighs heavy on my heart as I sit here, surrounded by the memories of a life once cherished. The photograph of Dave and me, radiant on our wedding day, serves as a bittersweet reminder of what once was and what will soon be shattered. The tears I shed were not for the conversation I'm about to have, but for the love lost along the way. It's been 28 years of mostly happiness, but now it's time to confront the truth that lies beneath the surface. John's presence beside me offers a silent reassurance, a reminder that I'm not alone in this tumultuous journey. His love has been a beacon of light in the darkness of my discontent, a stark contrast to the facade I've maintained with Dave. Over the past 15 months, our affair has blossomed into something deeper, something I never anticipated. Yet with each stolen moment with John, I've felt the weight of guilt pressing down on me, a constant reminder of the betrayal lurking in the shadows. The decision to confront Dave is not one I take lightly, but it's a necessary step towards liberation from the chains of deception. I know the pain I'm about to inflict will be profound, but it's a pain born of honesty, a truth that cannot be ignored any longer. As I steel myself for the inevitable confrontation, I find solace in the thought of the release that awaits on the other side. No more lies, no more deceit, just the freedom to embrace the love that has blossomed between John and me. But even as I prepare to shatter Dave's world, a pang of guilt gnaws at my conscience. He doesn't deserve this, none of it. Yet the truth must be told, consequences be damned. I glance at the baseball bat tucked discreetly in the bookcase, a symbol of the consequences that may await. Dave's staunch stance on fidelity is well known, and I can't shake the fear of what may come next. But I've made my choice, and now there's no turning back. The conversation must be had, the truth laid bare, no matter the cost. For in the end, honesty is the only path to true freedom, even if it comes at a price. The weight of my confession hangs heavy in the air, suffocating the room with its gravity. Dave's eyes, once warm and familiar, now blaze with an intensity I've never seen before. His silence is deafening, punctuated only by the erratic pounding of my heart. I can feel his gaze piercing through me, dissecting every word I've uttered, searching for some semblance of truth in this sea of betrayal. As the seconds stretch into eternity, I find myself grappling with the enormity of what I've just revealed. The enormity of the pain I've inflicted upon the man I once swore to love and honor. The man who stood by my side through the trials and triumphs of our shared life. And then, like a storm unleashed, Dave's voice cuts through the suffocating silence. It's raw, visceral, laced with a fury I never knew he was capable of. "You're joking, right?" he demands, his tone icy and unforgiving. I shake my head, unable to meet his gaze. "I wish I were," I whisper, my voice barely audible above the roaring of my own guilt. Dave's anger ignites like a flame, engulfing him in its searing heat. His fists clench at his sides, his jaw clenched with a rage that threatens to consume him. "Who is he?" he demands, his voice a low growl that reverberates through the room. I steel myself for his reaction, knowing that my next words will shatter whatever semblance of normalcy remains in our shattered world. "His name is Joan," I say softly, each syllable heavy with the weight of my betrayal. For a moment, there is only silence as Dave processes my confession. And then, with a roar that shakes the very foundations of our marriage, he lunges forward, his hands curling into fists of fury. "You son of a bitch!" he bellows, his voice a primal scream of anguish and betrayal. I scramble to intervene, to stop the violence before it consumes us both. But Dave is lost to his rage, his blows raining down on John with a ferocity that leaves me reeling. I watch in horror as John crumples to the ground, blood oozing from a gash on his forehead. "Stop!" I cry, tears streaming down my face as I plead with Dave to cease his assault. But he's beyond reason, lost in a maelstrom of pain and fury that threatens to engulf us all. In that moment, as I watched the man I once loved unleash his wrath upon the unwitting recipient of my betrayal, I realized the true cost of my infidelity. And as the room fills with the echoes of violence, I know that our marriage, our lives, will never be the same again. In the midst of impending turmoil, I grapple with the daunting prospect of divulging this heart-wrenching truth to my friends, haunted by the fear of their potential judgment and the irreparable damage it may inflict on Dave. As I shift my gaze past him, desperately seeking any semblance of warmth or understanding in his stoic demeanor, I am met with a disconcerting void, his countenance an impenetrable fortress devoid of empathy or vulnerability. His simple yet piercing inquiry cuts through the heavy silence, compelling me to meet his unwavering stare. Finally locking eyes with him, I am met with an unwavering gaze as firm and resolute as granite, leaving me feeling exposed and vulnerable. Summoning every ounce of courage within me, I lay bare the raw truth to Dave, bearing the heavy burden of confessing my heart's deepest pain, the agonizing realization that I have fallen out of love with him, my steadfast companion of many years, and into the arms of another, John. Despite my fervent desire to shield him from further anguish, I know in my heart that divorce is an inevitable consequence if John and I are to have any chance at a future together. Pausing momentarily to gauge his reaction, I am met with an ominous silence pregnant with unspoken truths and unshed tears. Struggling to fill the oppressive void with words, I abandon the pretense of rehearsed speeches and instead reveal the intricate web of deceit that has ensnared us, born out of a misguided attempt to safeguard Dave's feelings and preserve the fragile remnants of our once cherished union. Yet, met with his stoic silence, I find myself unable to meet his unwavering gaze, my reservoir of falsehoods finally running dry. As the weight of our shared truth hangs heavily in the air, I am consumed by an overwhelming desire to flee, my nerves wound taut like a tightly coiled spring, my skin prickling with the electric anticipation of what is to come. While Dave remains outwardly composed, I sense the tempest of emotions raging beneath his stoic facade, awaiting the inevitable eruption with bated breath. And then, in a moment that stretches into eternity, Dave's gaze finally wavers, acknowledging my admission with a simple, "Okay, Chelsea." My response escapes me in a whisper, slipping past my lips before I can halt its inexorable advance, leaving me to grapple with the profound repercussions of my truth. I question him, my voice trembling with a mix of apprehension and disbelief, seeking clarity in the midst of this unexpected turn of events. His response, delivered with an unnerving calmness, sends a jolt through my already frayed nerves. Does he want a divorce? Is that what okay implies? The weight of his words hangs heavy in the air, suffusing the room with an eerie tension that threatens to choke me. For a fleeting moment, I entertain the possibility that this is all just a nightmare, a cruel figment of my imagination. But the reality of the situation soon comes crashing down on me like a ton of bricks, leaving me reeling in its wake. In the deafening silence that follows, I struggle to find my voice to articulate the tumult of emotions raging within me. My mind races, desperately seeking refuge from the harsh reality unfolding before me. This isn't how it was supposed to go. After nearly 3 decades together, after weathering countless storms and sharing innumerable moments of joy and sorrow, how can it all unravel so swiftly, so mercilessly? I steal a glance at Dave, searching for some semblance of emotion in his impassive expression. But there's nothing. No hint of anger, no trace of sadness. Just a blank slate, devoid of any discernible emotion. It's as if I'm staring into the eyes of a stranger, a hollow shell of the man I once knew. And then it hits me. The realization that I've been cast aside, discarded like yesterday's news, without so much as a second thought. After all these years, after all we've been through, he's ready to walk away without a backward glance. The realization is like a knife to the heart, leaving me gasping for air, struggling to make sense of it all. I try to speak, to voice the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me, but the words catch in my throat, choking off any semblance of coherence. How did it come to this? How did we go from being inseparable to strangers in the span of a few short minutes? The questions linger, unanswered, as the weight of our shared history bears down on me like a leaden cloak. In the midst of this emotional maelstrom, I find myself grappling with a newfound sense of clarity. This may not have been the ending I envisioned, but it's the reality I must now confront. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, I reach for the envelope containing the divorce papers, the final nail in the coffin of our once happy marriage. As I hold it out to him, my fingers trembling with a mix of sorrow and resignation, I can't help but wonder what lies ahead for us both. I made numerous promises to him all those years ago, pledges of fidelity and devotion that now seem like distant echoes in the tumult of our crumbling marriage. But it's not John he's concerned about. It's the collateral damage, the unintended casualties caught in the crossfire of our fractured relationship. Dave assures me that he doesn't want John to suffer any more than he's already going to. A sentiment that catches me off guard, prompting me to question Dave about the nature of John's supposed suffering. In response, Dave adopts a gentler tone, a patient demeanor befitting a teacher imparting wisdom to a novice. He explains, with a touch of melancholy in his voice, how my age, now a half-century, renders me incapable of fulfilling John's desire for children, leaving him condemned to a life of childlessness, a genetic dead end. Dave paints a vivid picture of the joys of parenthood that John will never experience, the first steps, the first words, the simple pleasures of teaching a child to ride a bike or throw a ball. As Dave elaborates on John's prospective future, I feel a chill run down my spine, a sudden realization of the gravity of my actions and their far-reaching consequences. In my selfish pursuit of happiness, I fail to consider the impact on our children, the innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire of our marital strife. I attempt to reassure Dave, to assuage his fears and alleviate his concerns, but his words linger in the air like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over our already fractured relationship. Dave's words prompt me to confront the harsh reality of John's future, a bleak landscape devoid of trust and security, where love is but a fleeting illusion and betrayal lurks around every corner. He paints a picture of John's eventual marriage to someone he can never fully trust, someone capable of inflicting untold pain and suffering while professing love and devotion. It's a sobering thought, one that forces me to confront the true cost of my actions and the irreparable damage I've caused. And as Dave shifts the focus to me, to the inevitable passage of time and the toll it will take on my aging appearance, I'm forced to confront my own mortality, to reckon with the fleeting nature of beauty and youth. In another 5 years, he speculates, my looks will fade, my once youthful appearance succumbing to the ravages of time, while John remains a trim and vibrant 40-year-old, a constant reminder of the life I left behind. He questions whether John will hesitate to leave me, having seen all my perceived flaws, mentioning aspects like my crankiness due to premenstrual tension, my loud snoring and deep sleep, and other habits that John will soon discover. Offended, I leap to my feet, ready to retaliate, claiming that I'm not the only one who snores and pointing out my ability to color coordinate. I start to list Dave's faults, but a gasp from John stops me. His expression shows that Dave's points are resonating. I realize I need to get John out of here. Dave shrugs, while I collapse back onto the couch, shocked and filled with anger and offense. Is this truly what he thinks of me? Has he harbored these thoughts throughout all these years? I have so much I want to say. After months of doing my utmost to keep my affair secret to protect Dave, I now have an overwhelming desire to make him pay for not caring, for discarding me so easily. But the words won't come. They fail me as I watch Dave take a swig of his beer before tearing open the envelope. I look down at my hands, avoiding John's gaze, and can only hope he's not looking at me either. Dave mutters about half the value of the house, looking up at me, disputing the idea, asserting that it was his before he even met me. Dave suggests I might get away with half the bank account, but there may not be as much in there as I think. He acknowledges the likelihood of splitting the difference in our retirement accounts at the date of our separation, but mentions that I won't receive anything until he retires in 17 years. As he reads the rest of the document, he falls silent. I contemplate whether John's love for me can overcome the fact that we won't have the financial stability we thought we'd have, as I had assured him. Dave's words echo in my mind about the difference between an artist and a pizza, using John as a living example. What's the difference between an artist and a pizza? A pizza can feed a family. The silence drags on, feeling interminable. Finally, Dave looks up and comments that everything seems pretty reasonable except for the house, anticipating that my lawyer will charge me thousands to fight that. He then shifts the focus to the immediate future, wondering what we do now. He suggests I get a lawyer and contemplates packing a few things, but I interject, expressing my desire for him to leave right away. Dave considers alternatives, suggesting he could drop my belongings off at John's place next weekend. He intends to change the locks within 48 hours, rendering my return impractical. Should I forget anything, he offers the option of emailing him. He asserts that I may claim all the pictures from the walls, save those of our children, as we divide those. He stresses his preference for no reminders of me except for the photo taken during our cruise last year, which he adamantly refuses to relinquish. This particular picture was snapped roughly 3 months after I commenced my affair with John during a cruise Dave spontaneously arranged in the Caribbean. At that time, I had yet to develop feelings for John and still found solace in the arms of my husband, resulting in a radiant smile captured by the camera. The significance of this singular photograph perplexes me. While pondering its importance, Dave turns his attention directly to John for the first time, inquiring about his current address. Initially citing 42 Belmont, he swiftly corrects himself, noting John's relocation several months ago to 58 Gravila. This revelation shocks me to my core. Dave was aware of John's new address for at least 4 months. I struggle to comprehend how he acquired this knowledge and managed to conceal it from me. Despite our meticulous precautions, I failed to detect any signs of Dave's awareness. Scenes of shared dinners, intimate moments, exchanged gifts, celebratory occasions, mundane routines, and cherished family time replay in my mind, each devoid of any hint of Dave's insight. As I gaze at him with newfound scrutiny, he appears as a stranger. This man, with whom I've spent the better part of my adult life, is now an enigma to me. Despite my efforts to conceal my affair and protect Dave, he has outwitted me. How did he masterfully conceal his awareness from me for so long? The revelation that Dave had been privy to my affair for months unleashes a tempest of conflicting emotions within me, each wave crashing against the rocky shores of my consciousness, threatening to pull me under. It's a bitter pill to swallow, this realization that the man I've shared my life with, the one I thought knew me better than anyone else, had been silently witnessing the erosion of our marriage, all the while maintaining the facade of blissful ignorance. As I steal a glance at him, his features betray no hint of the storm raging within me. Instead, he sits there, a portrait of calm detachment, his demeanor a stark contrast to the whirlwind of chaos swirling around us. How could he have hidden his knowledge so masterfully? I wonder, burying his suspicions beneath layers of stoicism and reserve. The memories flood my mind, a torrent of moments spent in the throes of passion with John, each one tainted now by the shadow of Dave's awareness. The nights of whispered secrets and stolen kisses, the stolen glances and furtive touches all laid bare by Dave's silent acquiescence. Had he always known? I wonder, or was it something he pieced together over time, like a detective unraveling the threads of a complex mystery? I feel a surge of anger rise within me, directed not only at Dave for his silent complicity but also at myself for allowing the charade to continue for so long. How could I have been so blind, so oblivious to the cracks forming in the foundation of our marriage? The guilt weighs heavy on my chest, a leaden weight threatening to crush me beneath its oppressive burden. And yet, amidst the turmoil, there is a flicker of something else, a glimmer of hope perhaps, or simply the recognition that this revelation marks the beginning of a new chapter in my life. For too long, I have allowed myself to be shackled by the expectations of others, to conform to the dictates of society and suppress the true desires of my heart. But now, as I stand on the precipice of uncertainty, I feel a surge of liberation wash over me, a sense of empowerment born from the knowledge that I alone hold the pen that will write the next chapter of my story. It won't be easy, I know, and there will be obstacles and challenges along the way. But for the first time in a long time, I feel alive, invigorated by the prospect of forging my own path, unencumbered by the weight of deceit and betrayal. And so, with a steely resolve and a heart full of determination, I take a deep breath and steel myself for the journey ahead, knowing that whatever may come, I will face it head on, with courage and conviction. For I am not defined by the mistakes of my past, nor am I bound by the expectations of others. I am free to chart my own course, to pursue my own happiness, and to embrace the truth of who I am, unapologetically and without reservation. As I walked through the corridors of the doctor's office, the faint smell of antiseptic and the soft hum of fluorescent lights surrounded me, creating an atmosphere that felt both familiar and unsettling. Today's visit wasn't just routine, it carried a weight of uncertainty and revelation that hung heavy in the air. As Dr. Jones called my name, Mrs. Smith, my heart skipped a beat. It took a moment for me to respond, the sound of my own name feeling foreign and distant. With a sense of trepidation, I rose from my seat and made my way to his office, each step echoing the rhythm of my racing thoughts. Entering the room, I was met with Dr. Jones's warm smile, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within me. "Hello, Mrs. Smith," he greeted me, his voice a calm anchor in the midst of my turmoil. "What brings you in today?" Taking a deep breath, I gathered my thoughts before speaking. I explained that I was due for a replacement of my implant, a routine procedure that suddenly felt anything but routine. Dr. Jones listened attentively, nodding as he reviewed my medical history and discussing the options available to me. As he spoke, my mind drifted to a recent conversation with my husband, John. It was a conversation that had turned our world upside down, revealing truths we had long kept hidden from each other. The revelation of John's infertility had shattered our dreams of starting a family, leaving us adrift in a sea of uncertainty and doubt. But amidst the chaos of our shattered dreams, there was a glimmer of hope, a realization that our journey together was far from over. As I sat in Dr. Jones's office contemplating my options for contraception, I couldn't help but feel a sense of resilience stirring within me, a determination to navigate this new chapter of our lives with grace and courage. As Dr. Jones concluded his recommendations, I thanked him for his guidance, a sense of gratitude washing over me. Leaving his office, I carried with me a renewed sense of purpose, a conviction that even in the face of adversity, there are always paths forward waiting to be discovered. And as I stepped back into the world outside, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, I would face them with strength and resilience, ready to embrace the journey that lay before me. The features of the new contraceptive implant Dr. Jones described sounded almost futuristic, a marvel of modern technology with its ability not only to prevent pregnancy but also to monitor my pulse and gather diagnostic data throughout the day. The idea of having such advanced technology embedded within me felt like something out of a science fiction novel, akin to the gadgets wielded by characters in Star Trek. As Dr. Jones continued to explain the capabilities of the implant, my curiosity grew, but so did my apprehension. I couldn't help but voice my concerns about potential side effects, half jokingly asking if I would end up the size of a barn or sprout unwanted whiskers. His reassurances calmed my nerves, assuring me that the implant was far less disruptive than implantin and was unlikely to cause any drastic changes to my body. However, our conversation took an unexpected turn when Dr. Jones discovered something perplexing during his examination. As he reviewed my medical records on his monitor, his expression shifted from curiosity to confusion, and then to concern. He questioned the validity of the data, noting that according to the records, I already had a Vanguardian implanted, a device that had only been approved and available for the past 18 months. My mind raced with confusion and disbelief as Dr. Jones attempted to make sense of the situation. He speculated about possible glitches or mix-ups, suggesting that someone else's data might have been accidentally linked to my patient card. But as he examined the implant on my head, his confusion only deepened. "It's definitely a Vanguardian," he confirmed, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "But it's slightly different from the ones we implant here." I couldn't shake the feeling of unease as I lay on the examination bench, my thoughts spinning with questions and doubts. And then, as I glanced at the screen displaying the word Vanguardian, a memory flashed through my mind, a pseudonym I had come across on an amateur writing site where Dave used to read stories about cheating wives. The coincidence sent a chill down my spine, adding another layer of mystery to an already bewildering situation. As Dr. Jones reassured me that we would resolve the issue, I couldn't help but wonder if there was more to this strange mix-up than meets the eye. But for now, all I could do was trust in the doctor's expertise and hope that we would soon uncover the truth behind the enigma of my implanted Vanguardian. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my racing thoughts as I navigate the familiar streets on my way home. The realization of Dave's deception weighs heavily on my mind, each revelation adding another layer of complexity to the web of lies that had entangled us for so long. It's as if I've been living in a haze, blissfully unaware of the truth lurking just beneath the surface. As I pull into the driveway and step out of the car, I can't shake the feeling of disbelief that washes over me. How could I have been so blind, so naive, to the extent of Dave's manipulation? The memories come flooding back, moments shared, secrets whispered, promises made, and I can't help but wonder how many of them were built on a foundation of lies. Inside the house, everything seems eerily quiet, the familiar surroundings now imbued with a sense of unease. I glance around, half expecting Dave to materialize from the shadows, his presence a constant reminder of the shattered illusion of our marriage. But he's nowhere to be found, leaving behind only echoes of his deceit. I make my way to the living room, sinking into the familiar comfort of the couch. The framed photo from our Caribbean cruise catches my eye, its glossy surface reflecting the dim light of the room. I can't bring myself to look at it, knowing now that it represents not a cherished memory but a carefully crafted facade. The weight of it all threatens to crush me, the enormity of Dave's betrayal too much to bear. How could I have been so wrong about him, about us? The realization hits me like a ton of bricks, leaving me gasping for air in a sea of uncertainty. But amidst the chaos of my emotions, a flicker of determination takes hold. I refuse to let Dave's lies define me, to dictate the course of my future. I may not have all the answers, but I won't let fear and doubt consume me. I'll find the truth, no matter where it leads, and I'll emerge from this darkness stronger than before. With that resolve burning bright within me, I rise from the couch, ready to confront whatever lies ahead. The road ahead may be fraught with obstacles, but I'll face them head on, armed with nothing but the strength of my convictions and the unwavering belief that I deserve better than the life of deceit that Dave had woven around me. The weight of the truth hits me like a ton of bricks, settling heavily in the pit of my stomach as I replay the events in my mind, each revelation more staggering than the last. The photo, innocently displayed on the wall, now feels like a sinister relic, a silent witness to the deception that has plagued my life for far too long. Dave's calculated moves, his meticulous planning to conceal the truth, all laid bare in the harsh light of reality. I can't help but marvel at the sheer audacity of it all, the way he manipulated every aspect of our lives without us ever suspecting a thing. It's like something out of a spy thriller, a twisted plotline straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. But this isn't fiction. This is my life. And the ramifications of his deceit are staggering. As I sit there, grappling with the enormity of what I've just discovered, a sense of helplessness washes over me. Dave's cunning tactics have left me powerless, trapped in a web of lies with no way out. The financial devastation, the betrayal of trust, it's all too much to bear. And now, as I stand on the threshold of my own home, I'm confronted with yet another bombshell. John's somber expression, the pregnant girl by his side, it's like a punch to the gut, knocking the wind out of me in one swift blow. I had thought our relationship was solid, built on a foundation of honesty and trust. But now, as I look at him, I can't help but wonder how much of our life together has been built on lies. The glasses of Chardonnay sit untouched on the table, a bitter reminder of the shattered illusions that once filled this room with warmth and laughter. In that moment, I realize that I am truly alone, adrift in a sea of uncertainty with no lifeline to cling to. And as I sink into the worn cushions of the couch, I can't help but wonder how I'll ever find my way back to shore.